Our top story tonight, some going down in November.
Wars, spending.
There has got to be something big a-brewing.
They're using geese to guard prisons in Brazil.
Does Biden know what
Immigration
Mexico
policies.
is? Would you scare Joe Biden? What are we laughing at?
I think Billy Mays was real.
I'm a world-class skeptic.
I don't know anything about Hunter Biden. I don't know who's big into cocaine and laptops. Why is that our problem?
Complete, absolute incompetence. Like, who funds the news? It's a freaking inside job, man. That the entire world's a stage and everything's fake.
Here on the week
Start
of
again. I had the
Christmas,
mic muted.
Son of a whore. Welcome back to another edition of the Veritas Road. John, can we fucking hear me now? We good? All right, sweet. We're here during the holiday season to bring you guys a little bit of fucking conspiracy holiday cheer. Merry Christmas, folks, and thanks for listening. It is, 2 days after Christmas, the day after Christmas. Yesterday was Christmas. It's December 26th. I know when Christmas is. December 26th, we thought we'd
It's
hop
Boxing
on.
Day, motherfucker.
It is Boxing Day. We're not British, John. We're not fags.
Okay.
We don't celebrate Boxing Day here in America. This is America.
Okay, but Boxing Day is also Canadian, which doesn't really help my
That
case.
doesn't help your case at all.
But that is
They
what
got it
today
from
is.
Britain, too. Like, that doesn't help.
Yeah. Speaking of that, 5-3.
So, well, thanks for listening, folks. If you don't like and follow the podcast, please be sure to do that. And real quick, I'm not sure if Nephilim Hunter's listening, but shout out to you for sending us all those links, buddy. Thank you. We will be using a couple of those today. Very excited to get into what we have to talk about. So, am I missing anything on the outset, John? Anything we need to go over before we get started?
I mean, just follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all the shit.
Yeah,
Scrolling
follow us
across
everywhere.
the screen. And if you would like to send us links to for stuff that we could cover on these what should be Tuesday streams, shoot us a DM on one of those platforms or send us an email. Our email address is theveritasroad@gmail.com.
There you go. So do that. Damn it, I thought of something else while you were saying that. I have forgotten, so it doesn't matter.
So you didn't think of something else while I was saying that, because that took all of 3 seconds for me to
I
say.
had a moment, but I was trying to focus on what you were saying, John. I was trying to be present. I was trying to be present here with you, buddy.
I appreciate
Because it's the
it.
day after Christmas, and we're spreading holiday cheer. That's what we're doing. I'm drinking a hot cup of coffee in the brand new Ember mug, not a sponsor, that my family gave me. Keeps my coffee nice and hot. It's me sipping on it, folks. So speaking of holiday cheer, in China, they've started, I guess they've been doing chimera research. Let's go ahead and jump into this first link here. I found about Nephilim Hunter sent us this link, and I thought it was absolutely terrifying and fascinating all at the same time. So let's just watch this real quick, and then we'll chat about it.
All right. Should probably unmute the screen audio.
We will watch it soon. We're about to watch it. We're building up. This is building up hype.
Building up
Yeah.
tension.
This-
Something
yeah.
is.
We're building up excitement.
Yeah. Why is this not playing in our headset?
So I
Let's
went
open.
back, and is it good to go down, John?
It's not playing in our headset, and I don't understand why. So vamp for a second.
I went back, and so I saw this. Somebody sent us this link about the chimeras, where in China they're supposedly combining human DNA with animal DNA, right? And I was just curious, because when I hear wild shit on the internet, I'm always curious how credible it is. I went back and I looked it up, and there are like mainstream websites that reference this particular thing they're doing in China. John, did you have the video muted?
I did.
Okay, let's
So-
try this one more time.
That should click that button there.
Remember they were doing that. You guys remember that? Japan modified its
Start
rules.
this from the beginning.
Modified its rules to allow research.
You can also turn that down because it's horrible.
Yeah, that's very loud.
Okay.
All right.
I taught biology, and none of my peers ever talked about this. But in 2019, back when they were corrupting all flesh rapidly. You remember they were doing that. You guys remember that. Japan modified its rules to allow research of these chimeras, human-animal hybrids. They were already doing it, but they modified their rules to allow these creatures to grow to completion, basically. And so they can then implant these chimeras, which I was always told that was impossible. Why would it be illegal if it's impossible? And so we had a scientist who asked for the Pope's approval. He wanted his blessing before he corrupted all flesh. If the Pope was a real man of God, what if he had said, no, get out of here with that nonsense, that days of Noah nonsense? He said, you have my blessing. And so this man, Juan, we'll call him Juan Carlos, here's a creation he made, half pig, half human. This is heartbreaking. This is days of Noah stuff coming back. They're going against our Father's beloved creation,
all right,
mixing with an unclean animal.
So they're, for some reason, experimenting with splicing human and animal DNA together in China. And I wanted to just corroborate that this is actually going on. So there's an article in the Google Doc where they discuss the fact that this is actually being done with human DNA, trying to splice it into like monkey embryos, apparently into pig embryos, and into all manner of other beasts of the field, as they would say, biblically. And you have, like, why, you gotta wonder why in the absolute fuck would they feel like they need to get the Pope's blessing, of all people, for experiments they're running in China. Isn't China, like, mostly, what is it, Buddhist, Taoist? They're not Hindu. Don't they hate the Hindus? I'm pretty sure they're Buddhist. And so it's odd that they would want the Pope's blessing for this kind of research. I get it if you want like Buddha's blessing, you know? He'd probably say, hey, give me a Twix and we'll be even, you know, that fat fuck. But it's weird that they wanted the Pope's blessing for this. If we scroll down, I think they discuss exactly what animals they were trying to splice, like, along with humans. Pigs, sheep, monkeys, like all sorts of animals that they're trying to splice into human DNA. And you just have to ask yourself, like, why? And the guy who ran that video, I mean, his comments kind of make sense. It is some, like, weird Days of Noah shit, like, kind of trying to almost, like, not reinvent the wheel, but, like, recreate what was going on with, like, the Watchers that came down, right?
Yeah, and that's
John. I can't hear you.
Son of a bitch. You can hear me now. I gotta thank you. It's really interesting because it's like Revelation describes kind of that. I don't know if it's in Revelation, it might be in one of the Gospels, but it says like the end times are gonna be like the days of Noah.
Yeah.
So it's like if you take either the little season view, is that they're trying to kind of replicate that, or if you take maybe this is actually end time prophecy being played out in real time. It is interesting. I've never really thought, I didn't really put that connection until I saw that video, that this is actual kind of Days of Noah style crap, to where it is like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not necessarily, you know, deities, and maybe it is altering like the human creation, but it is altering the human creation away from what it was actually designed to be.
Yeah.
And I never really actually made that connection to the whole Nephilim thing, but it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I mean that's what they did. I just started reading Enoch last week, and that obviously talks a lot more about what went on with that whole Genesis 6 story that you're so obsessed with, and like the angels coming down, the Watchers is what they call them in Enoch, coming down and mating with women, like doing the sex to them and getting babies. And part of the problem of that seems to be like the alteration of the Creator's creation, and that's exactly like the hubris that is involved in saying, "Oh, we're gonna make it better," right? Is almost reminiscent of the hubris the Bible talks about, like the Tower of Babel.
Yeah,
you know, like we can do whatever we want. Let's just build a tower to heaven and kill God, type of stuff.
Yeah.
This is kind of along the same vein. Like, we can do better than, and it's an odd line to take for these so-called scientists, because no matter which way you look at it, it's kind of fucked. Either you're one of these like hardcore atheistic scientists and you believe like Darwin was the modern day messiah and there will be nothing better than natural selection. And in that, if that's your line, if that's the thing that you believe to be true, then it is ridiculously arrogant and kind of retarded to think that you can do a better job than natural selection, right?
Right.
Or if you're one of these people who's a religious scientist, right? Then you think you can do better than, like, you think you can do better than God? Like, there's no way that kind of act makes sense except in some kind of weird satanic occultist agenda. Like, that's the only reason some kind of experiment like this makes sense. And the other question I have about this is when it comes to, so they're essentially just like splicing together and fertilizing embryos. Is that life? Like, is that alive? Is that a conscious being? And if so, like, are we also committing murder as well as just like desecrating mankind? Like, if one of those things happens to grow into adulthood somehow, God forbid, what is that gonna be? Some kind of tortured, demonic, half-retarded creature?
Yeah, I mean, the Nephilim, by all accounts, were alive. They weren't human, though.
Yeah.
And the Creator certainly did not treat them as human.
No,
right?
not at all.
They were treated very, very harshly. And if you kind of look into a little bit more, is like most people think that like what demonic spirits are, it's their disembodied spirits because they don't have a place to go after death, because they're not created for the spiritual realm. They're not created for the physical realm. So they kind of just get stuck. And like, that's kind of a good point. And it's like, human beings, we have been granted the, I call it almost a divine right to create other human beings.
Yeah.
It's something only human, God and humans can do, right? Is create another human. But when we try to like steer outside of that and create something that's not human, not like something that we're not supposed to,
it's gross and creepy.
Yeah. And what is the, like, how does it play out in the spiritual realm? I don't know. Like you said, if one of these things did become alive and actual some type of sentient cognizant thing, doesn't have a place to go.
Well, that and is it capturing like the spirit, of some kind of evil entity that doesn't have a place to go? Like, are we creating a vessel for an otherwise lost entity to inhabit?
Well, no, you're creating something in and of itself that's unique, in my opinion.
Maybe.
Well, because it's like what we do when we, like, obviously when we create other humans, we're creating a spiritual entity as much as a physical entity.
Yeah.
So it's like, this would be the same concept. You are creating something that is also spiritual as much as it is physical, right? The problem is it's not supposed to be there.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. Yeah. So some kind of like perverted spiritual entity as well as a perverted physical entity. And those two kind of like the perversion seems to like bridge the dimensionality. I don't know what other term to give that, but kind of bridge the gaps between planes. My only other thought would be like, if it's fucked up enough to not be the creation of a spiritual entity, are you creating room for like a demon to take its place? Kind of like the idea of like, if your vessel's empty, something's going to come take its place type stuff. We creating empty vessels to exist, to be inhabited by evil spiritual entities. Like, are these just empty vessels ripe for the picking for, whatever demons are out there to inhabit them?
That's an interesting point.
And I think those are like those two thoughts are just as possible, but you just have to wonder on a spiritual plane, what's going on here? Are we murdering babies? Are we creating like these weird half demon babies? Are we creating empty vessels for demons to inhabit? Like, what could potentially be going on, and what motivation could somebody have other than just fucked up occultist nonsense to want to do this. It doesn't make sense from any rational perspective to want to splice together animal and human DNA. Like, there's no reason to do it other than to mess with creation.
Yeah, maybe to create some type of way to get like Nephilim spirits some form of physical body back.
Maybe,
You
yeah.
know, that's an interesting point. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
Um,
That was one of the first things that came to my mind reading through this was like, what is this just a vessel for something to inhabit? I
Yeah,
don't know. And we read a lot about like these half man, half creature entities in a lot of mythology. Things like
Right.
minotaurs,
Right.
centaurs, the goat one, fawns, and a bunch of others whose names I have forgotten because it's been a long time since I read that nonsense. But like there are a lot of stories about those. I don't think those just cropped up.
right.
You know, were
Right.
those Nephilim type beings? Are we trying to recreate those? Are we trying to recreate vessels for those to inhabit? I don't know, but this makes you wonder.
Yeah, and it's super messed up is like how they kind of sell it to you, right? Because this is just sold as like, oh, we're just doing
We're doing
holistic
science.
scientific research
Yeah.
to cure people from their cancers and
Right.
their long-term long-term illnesses. What's the word? Terminal illnesses.
Yeah,
And it's
chronic
just-
or
yeah,
terminal, either one.
It's just screwed up
Depending
in
on-
how they sell that to you, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I hadn't even thought to go over that here, but it is odd how they try to find ways to just sell it to people as best they can, because on the surface this seems so weird and creepy and gross. I think the people who do this know we have to figure out a way to sell this to the public. Otherwise, there's going to be absolutely no buy-in. If we can't find some kind of bullshit reason to give out as to why we're doing this, i.e., hey, you know what? If we splice pig DNA into your child, they'll never have to worry about a liver or kidney or whatever. Like, that's, I guess it's an effort to sell it to the masses. The sad thing is, I bet it works for a lot of people. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Science, Asia, fucking China, Asians doing science. Everybody likes that shit.
Yeah, and we've just been so inundated with this idea that, like, especially in terms of illness, our bodies cannot like take care of itself on its own, and we need all of this, extra scientific advancement, whether it be jabs, whether it be pharmaceuticals, whether it be this, to where we need all of these outside stimulants to come into our bodies so that we can actually protect ourselves from the world around us.
Yeah.
And it's just so antithetical to how we are actually designed, and how we are designed for this place, and how we're designed to like engage with our environment.
Yeah. The body is absolutely equipped to just heal itself. I mean, if you give the body the appropriate stimulus and just live like a real fucking human being, you don't have to worry about any of the nonsense we have to worry about now. And the only way they're able to sell this stuff is by just slowly breaking down the human condition over time. Like, people didn't worry about cancer and heart disease and all the diabetes, all the nonsense we worry about 150 years ago. Sure, it happened occasionally, very, very rarely, to people who were fucked up, but now it's like the norm. It's close to half of the population of the United States has diabetes or pre-diabetes right now.
Right.
Heading, like, and those numbers are getting worse and worse over time. I work in the health insurance industry. Like, a lot of the people that we take applications for are denied as a result of being diabetic, pre-diabetic, having chronic heart disease, or having had or currently having cancer. Mankind would not have made, if you're one of those like Darwinist people would not have made it this far if that's just the natural human condition, that you're diabetic and you have cancer and you have heart disease. Like, that's not the natural human condition. The only way those crop up is if some outside force comes in and throws your body way the fuck out of whack. And so I think part of what that's there to do, and I mean, we could talk about this ad nauseum, but part of what that's there to do is create room for things like this, to help create room in people's minds for acceptance of things like this, in an effort to pervert the human population.
Yeah, and you really hit something there. Just the logic of it on its face, if you really break it down,
It doesn't
makes
work.
no sense.
Yeah.
Because you're right. If you buy into the fact of what we're told in like scientific kind of consensus is that like people of old were primitive. They
Right.
didn't have, advanced medicine. They didn't have, any type of advanced technology, yet they also had the same diseases that we supposedly have now. If that's true, we would not be alive now. It just wouldn't work. Humans would have mostly died out.
Yeah.
Well,
the
the
counter
logic
argument
of that is just so sound if you actually think about it.
The counter argument to that on their side of things is that people didn't live as long back then, right? Like they didn't live long enough to experience heart disease or cancer or diabetes. But the fact of the matter is, if you look back 60, 70, 80 years, right? Even after like the onboarding of like Neolithic foods, there was obviously a lot of like industry going on. People were more sedentary, but still like the amount of toxins at that point hadn't invaded the food supply to such a degree. There were still people out there living in farms, but that still had access to things like modern medicine, and they still didn't deal with diabetes and heart disease and all those things. And so it's not a matter of like, oh, we're just living longer now. We deal with these as a result of living longer. That's some bullshit. And they'll try to sell it to you that way because that is the one counter argument they have is like, well, yeah, sure, people used to die at 40. No. 100 years ago, people were still living longer lives.
Right.
But they weren't dealing with dementia, Alzheimer's, heart disease. All of that wasn't as big of a problem because we weren't actively poisoning the human population. We weren't actively perverting the human genome through the use of gene splicing, and not to speak of like CRISPR, which is also like a big Chinese project where they're working on just editing the human genome, right? So we weren't, trying to create room for things like that, trying to inject God knows what into people through all these jabs, all this mRNA stuff. And so, I mean, yeah, there's no logical reason for the level of disease we experience other than you're slowly being poisoned. You're slowly, being attacked, essentially, from your food supply, from the alleged medicine you're taking. Yeah. So, this is utterly fucked. I didn't mean to start things so heavy. Today was my first day away from family. Woke up feeling a little hungover, a little tired, skosh gay, but that'll all wear off. We'll be okay. So, I just found that utterly disturbing that they're trying to do that. So we can roll on. Unless you have anything else on that, John?
Not really. I do think it's kind of interesting, and I'll kind of leave on this. Is like, especially if you come from a kind of a biblical background, is like the Bible says that humans are allotted 120 years on the earth.
Yeah.
Post flood. Why does no one question? Is like why do we not get to that? Why are we dying 50 years too early on average?
That's a good question.
From a biblical perspective, is like you've got to question that and be like, what attacks are being put on us that are causing that?
I've heard that interpreted a couple of different ways. I don't know that refers specifically to lifespan. I'll have to go back because that's after Noah gets off the ark where God talks about that.
Right.
And I heard once like a discussion of man's going to be allotted this amount of time till some shit goes down. I can't remember. So I don't know whether that refers to lifespan or not.
I don't know. That's what Moses got. And
yeah.
Looking at the story of Moses,
then he went away.
He just
went away.
Yeah, it's a very weird story.
Yeah.
So there is something that happens when you if you hit 120 years, something will happen to you. It's very weird.
Yeah. Well, supposedly Moses, like, he struck the rock instead of speaking to it, and God was like, "You're not going to make it to the promised land," and so he took him. That's what it says. In Exodus. But as far we'll have to look into that more and maybe do an ep.
Yeah.
We could maybe do an ep on that because that is an interesting line of questioning.
Yeah.
So turning our attention to lighter things, let's talk about murder. So
you picked just a very happy list
for a post
Saturnalia stream.
It's our post-Christmas celebration.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, we're happy. Merry Christmas, folks. There was another shooting yet again, and it was so there was supposedly a mass shooting at Brown, right? But then there was also was there a shooting at MIT as well? I think
There's a shooting of an MIT professor. I
That's
haven't
who it
looked
was,
into
okay.
it, but I've heard it. I've
So-
seen it all over our Twitter feed.
there was So there was a shooting, and the coincidences with this get real weird real fast. So allegedly there was a mass shooting at Brown, but there was also like the professor guy was shot by another physicist. So there were two physicists involved in this shooting. One who was working on some kind of like solar energy technology, right? And the other guy was supposedly not a college dropout, but like a guy who was in physics in a similar field, knew the fellow who got shot. So, Nuno Loureiro, I think, no, Loureiro, the Claudio Neves Valente allegedly knew him. So the man who got murdered, the guy who shot him, allegedly knew him professionally. The weird coincidences here, like, I don't understand what motivation this person who I think lives in another country would have to just like fly to the US and start shooting a bunch of students. This is already an odd like line for the media to take. This guy was a disenfranchised teacher and he just came to the US and started shooting people up. Very strange. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying maybe some weird shit went down with this fella. So he shot 2 students, injured 9 others, and then he shot the Loureiro guy. This is all happening while Truth Social, I think right before Trump's Truth Social conducts this weird merger with a nuclear energy company, with whom the guy who got shot was heavily involved. I'm a little fuzzy on the dates on this, but I think the murder happened like a couple of days before Loureiro's, the company Trump's Truth Social is merging with, which is a company Loureiro was going to conduct a merger. So like the timeline is real fishy, real fishy. It makes you wonder, why is Truth Social merging with an energy company? That's odd. I would understand if it was merging with X or with Facebook. It merging with an energy company is very strange. And then we have this shooting that takes place shortly before with a man who was heavily involved in conducting research for this nuclear energy company. Again, very odd. Just odd. Not saying it was on purpose, just saying it was odd. Very odd. So, just wanted to highlight that a little bit. I don't actually know that anything fishy went on, but it seems a little sketchy. Anything on this, John? Just wanted to poke at that a little bit.
Nothing really. I haven't looked into this. I always just kind of view these stories like this for like it's just low hanging fruit for the conspiracy theorists.
It is.
Right, because it's like they'll put all these little very obvious oddities kind of very right in front of your face, and all of these kind of conspiracy minded people will jump right on over it. It's like, in all honesty, this shit probably doesn't matter, and it's probably there for a purpose, right? It's I've said this over and over again on this podcast. Is like some of this stuff, especially now, because it's like it seems like they're really opening up. I love the Tom Woods phrase, the index card of allowable opinion. They're making that really, really broad, right? They're doing that on purpose. So they're putting a lot of this stuff in there for a lot of people to kind of come in and kind of get their conspiratorial hats on and get on all of this, and kind of framing the discussion around some of these things. but I don't think they actually matter in the grand scheme of what's going on in the world. I think it's something to just kind of keep people's energy and their attention on stuff, so that they don't, actually notice what's really, going on at play. And so I find it really difficult to kind of engage with some of this because it feels like they want me to,
Maybe. I don't know. I think that's not to sound accused. I think that's easy to say about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I think anything that's fishy bears looking into. Now, whether or
Right.
not you should devote a ton of time and energy to it,
Right.
valid point.
Yeah.
But I think it bears at least addressing
Yeah.
and looking into enough to see, is there anything actually fucking going on here? And it's strange. Sure, yeah, there is a lot of low-hanging fruit here. What the purpose behind it is, that's the big question. And I think it bears looking at until you figure out what the fucking purpose behind it is.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of my point. And what I'm trying to get people to kind of pay attention to is like this kind of story crap.
Yeah.
Is just that. It's just low hanging fruit for people to like really just hammer on the kind of minutia bullshit of like the base level conspiracy of it.
Yeah.
And it seems like that is getting so much more obvious. Maybe it's just because it's like I'm starting to notice more.
I think that's a big part
That
of it.
might be part of it,
Yeah.
but it just seems like it's getting so much more obvious, and like there's more and more people like getting in on it. That's what's really kind of bothering me, is like more and more people are noticing. And it's like, right, if you look back 10 years ago, like the culture wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And like this wouldn't make, these kind of connections wouldn't make mainstream news on, fucking PBS and Fox News. Right. There wouldn't be this kind of accusatory conspiracy kind of undertone of these articles 10 years ago. That's not how it would have been framed. And it seems like they're doing that more and more, especially as you see like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson getting really popular, and they're kind of bringing these conspiracy bents into the culture.
They are,
It's
and that
just
is
like
weird.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm being like I feel like stuff's being put in front of me to notice it. And that's why I'm trying to be very, very like hesitant of what I put energy into and what I focus on, because it's like a lot of it seems like it's just being force fed to me on a plate.
I will say,
And I'm very, very skeptical of all of that.
yeah, I will say with Candace and Tucker and like Erica Kirk and all that shit, it does seem to be, it seems to be put out there almost like a WWE headline, like a WWE plot line, trying to like pit these people against each other.
Yeah.
And David, I don't know a lot. If you're referring to the professor are you referring to the guy who was shot or somebody else who was supposed to be there? I'm not sure. I know the Brown professor was, I don't know. But as far as like Candace and Tucker go and all those people, it does seem to be very much like a bad WWE plot line. I mean, when are we going to add John Cena to the mix? I'm excited for the day that John Cena becomes a political pundit. I think that would be fun, and I think it's a great idea. I think it's his next big move. He should stop doing movies, and he should get on CNN. I mean, what the fuck is he doing out there? Get on CNN, John Cena. You heard it here first. So I want a cut of whatever you make off of that, because he would do a great job. Can you imagine him just like waving his hand? Yeah, that'd be great. I would love that. Iran, you can't see me. Like that'd be awesome. So yeah, I mean, to your point, it does seem like they're pushing a lot of what used to be alternative media type stuff is becoming more and more mainstream with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all those people. I do think there is an element of like the fact that the truth community has grown over the years, especially after 2020. Like that community is exploding. It was kind of, a lot of people's blindfolds got ripped off when they saw the whole world acting in unison. And so I think that there is an element of just the fact that you're more aware of it because we're doing this every week.
Right.
You're more in it because we're doing this every week. You have to be. I have to be. And so it makes it seem like there's a lot more of this going on than there used to be, just because you're a lot more aware of it now than you would have been 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think there's probably a little bit of both going on. As far as stories like this go, though, it does seem like it's kind of dangled out there to some degree. I think looking into it though is a good endeavor to a point.
Yeah.
I think the people who are devoting days and days and days to trying to figure this shit out, who aren't like investigating the actual crime scene, you're probably better off looking into something else.
Yeah.
But I think taking a cursory look at it and saying, "Holy shit, what these are really going on at the same time? You fucking kidding me?" It's got to be one of two things. Either it's like a false flag put out there to try to get people's attention, right? Try to suction people's energy, or because I don't think anybody in the government or the shadow government or anyways retarded enough to put the announcement of Trump Social merging with a big nuclear energy company and news about this murder together within like 5 days of each other. I don't think anybody writing these fucking plot lines is that retarded. So either it's there as a false flag or it's there because it has to be. One of the two.
Yeah.
And if it has to be, is that an indicator saying, hey, fucking pay attention, bitch? You know? I don't know.
Yeah, that's just my biggest issue with all of this is like you look at so many different stories. It's like people aren't that stupid.
Yeah.
You know? And
Right.
it's like making everything that's starting to become a whole lot more obvious than at least what it seemed to be. Maybe it isn't, maybe it's not. But it's like, people aren't that stupid. You look at the whole Charlie Kirk, situation and all the Israel stuff. Like they're not that stupid. Right. You look at the shooting in Australia, we talked about that.
Yeah, we covered that.
We covered that last week, but we covered that like where they dropped the search engine results. And
Right.
it's like people like they're not that stupid. You're being forced to notice these things. And my whole thing is just like examine why they want you to notice. That's what the more important thing is, not necessarily the whatever bullshit, connections between True Social and this nuclear energy company. Pay more attention to why do they want you to notice this story. That's kind of my point. In the whole thing is like, not that you don't need to look at these, but you don't need to look at like, the narrative they're writing for you.
Right.
You need to look at why they're putting it in front of your eyes.
So, yes, you do need to look at that. I also wonder if there's an element of like, as things get wilder and wilder and we approach the end, this is going to be a real philosophical, sad app on Christmas week. Merry Christmas. As things get more and more wild, is there an element of like giving people more and more opportunity to wake up and they're just not, kind of an ears to hear type line kind of going on. And because there's still a fuck ton of normies out there who just refuse to see very obvious stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like I had a conversation with somebody just this past week who was like, I'm starting to see that 9/11 might not have been totally accidental. It's like, it's 2025.
Yeah.
It's been 24 years. Are you fucking kidding me? You should have realized that a long ass time ago. The fact that you're just waking up, I mean, congratulations, good for you, but wow, you've had plenty of time. Why is it taking you so damn long? And so I wonder if there is an element of like, whether it's, the creator kind of forcing their hand or what it may happen to be. Like, we're going to make things increasingly more obvious and give people the opportunity to wake up to reality. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, that's on them.
Yeah, it's the whole, Robert's made this analogy on here, 100 times, but I think it's a really good analogy of, Abraham going to God before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It's like, hey, let me go find one more righteous person.
Yeah.
One more righteous person. God's like, okay, you can do it. But it's like, you're not going to find it. It might be that kind of thing somehow going on in the spiritual realm. It's like, hey, let me see whoever's advocating to God,
right?
For, Jesus or whatever, whatever, is kind of advocating on our behalf. It's like, hey, let's try and find one more person kind of thing. And that analogy, I like that analogy because that could be kind of what's going on at play. And it's just like, whether the creator's kind of forcing the powers that be to get a little bit more obvious to kind of see if more and more people can wake up. That could be, because it does seem like that's what's happening. I I will say that line of thinking is a lot less nihilistic than the line of thinking that I've always been. It's just like, it's probably just because shit's been breaking down, you know? That's always been my thought. It's just like, oh, this whole societal structure we have is just slowly breaking down more and more and more, and it's becoming more chaotic.
I mean, there's
That's
probably...
a lot more. That's a lot more nihilistic than the idea. It's like, hey, it's just trying to wake up one more person, one more person, one more person. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's an element of that to it,
Yeah.
but I think somewhere wrapped up in that is an opportunity for people to open their eyes.
Right.
And for the folks that aren't taking it, we're reaching the point where that's on you. I get it. A lot of people were raised with this whole like, well, with all the information was just handed from birth, and that is a hard pattern to break. So, I mean, all the love and care for those people, because it's a painful awakening. But I think we're slowly approaching a point where you're not going to have any excuse. It's either wake up or just don your sleep mask and fucking keep on going.
We ain't slowly approaching that, brother. We are speeding towards that cliff, because it's like I look around and it's just like, you see how chaotic the world is, and you just see like the lack of any type of moral virtue in the kind of political and corporate, like the society that's put in front of us. Like, if you can't see that for what it is, like, it's hard for me to figure out like what to do for you, you know?
I think it's easy to lose a little bit of compassion for those folks, because people like you and I were lucky enough to have weird, painful life events to kind of jar us awake, right? And that doesn't sound great, right? Like traumatic life events aren't fun, but they serve a very useful purpose insofar as they separate you from the like comfortable kind of hypnotic state that a lot of people exist in who have otherwise had like pretty painless paths throughout life, right? And so I think it's easy for, honestly, people like me, because I do it all the time, to forget how difficult it is to really open your eyes to the true nature of reality when you're brainwashed from the time you were born. And a lot of people are a lot more brainwashed than you or I were even.
Yeah.
You were probably handed a lot more brainwashing than I was, because my parents were insane hippies, right?
Right.
And so, like, I probably had an easier time of it than a lot of other people. But I think it's very easy for people in our world to kind of lose understanding and compassion for the folks who are either still in it or still struggling to come to terms with, the fact that the government isn't what they think it is, with the fact that some guys with some people with box cutters didn't maybe blow up the Twin Towers,
Yeah.
like that is, I think, a lot more to come to grips with than we really give people credit for who haven't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot more room for compassion on our side of that fence than we offer people. But in this case, like, it's getting more and more and more and more and more obvious. And so if you haven't, well, to those people who somehow stumble across this shit, if you haven't woken up to your ranting, raving, racist uncle's thoughts during Thanksgiving, please, for the love of God, listen to him next time, okay? Is okay. Sure, he lives out in the fucking woods with a gun, a dog, and an engine swinging from his tree, and he looks insane. But listen to him, okay? Listen to Uncle Leroy. Dude knows what's up. Dude knows what's up. Why'd you look so concerned about that, John? You know,
anytime you go on those long-winded rants, I get a little
you
concerned.
panicking?
Yeah, I get a little concerned of what's going to come out of your mouth.
Have faith, my boy. Have faith. So yeah, this stuff's just getting more and more obvious, and I think it just gives people more and more room to wake up, and that's your positive Carson for the day. I'm not going to be positive anymore.
That's the first time I think you've taken a more positive
Than
angle than me.
other people.
Than other people on this show, or just I'm actually very proud of you.
Thanks.
I'm very proud of you.
Thanks, Coach.
Because typically, It's the other person in the room that's taking a positive look on things.
Well, don't get used to it, folks, because
But
you're
good
just
for
a
you.
QR code. So let's roll on to Let's roll on to the next article, or the next video. This is a video. Again, thank you, Nephilim Hunter, if you end up watching this, for sending us a bunch of stuff. Folks, if you see anything, just a little mid-pod shameless plug, if you see anything you want us to go over, if you have an idea for a guest you want us to have on, DM us. Shoot us an email at theveritasroad@gmail.com and let us know. Shoot us the links. Let us know. We're always looking for more stuff to talk about, more content, more people to talk to. And also, if you haven't dropped us a like and a follow, please do that. It does help the show. And we're into this video. Maybe.
We are there.
Okay.
100% convinced that the only way to stop what's coming is mass non-compliance. No local government, no state, and definitely no federal government is going to stop it. It has to be all of us saying no.
And I've explained that if you sign up for digital ID, it'll be the last really important decision you make, because your digital ID will be the only thing that your governments, institutions, and anybody authorized by those holding power will recognize you through. So you won't exist anymore. You'll be replaced by a QR code. You are not a number, you're an address to some resources. And that makes it particularly dangerous because those resources can be edited, and one of those fields for sure will be your vaccination status. And I'm absolutely sure, because I've seen it written down in multiple documents, that your digital ID will only remain valid if you comply with the conditions of validity. So one of them will be, have you had your latest recommended or mandated jabs? And because of the fact that I'm qualified in toxicology and worked for decades with others in what's called rational drug design, when I look at these jabs, the constituents, I am certain, formally certain, that they were designed to hurt you. And so, the digital ID will lose validity unless you roll your sleeve up. You must see that's designed to injure and, I believe, ultimately kill you.
Okay, so for those folks who think, hey, this is America, we got a constitution that protects us from this, that nonsense is just a piece of paper. It doesn't mean jack shit. Take a look at what's going on in Europe right now. Take a look at them cracking down on free speech on the internet. Because in my opinion, that's just a gateway to policing people digitally, right? That's how we get our foot in the door to the idea of digital ID and tracking you, not just everywhere you go physically, everywhere you go on the internet, all of your medical decisions, tracking every last little thing. And digital ID makes it painfully easy for people to do, okay? And so it's starting to creep in more and more there, and we're slowly seeing it enter into the lexicon here in the States. It's slowly happening, and we're just okay with it. You got to get your real ID to fly, John. Go get your real. Why haven't you gotten your real? You got to get your real ID to fly. Don't you need to fly? You might need to fly. Go get your real ID. You need to fly. You might need to fly. We're slowly drifting towards this authoritarian dystopia, and it's little steps. It's little steps along the way. And again, I hate sounding like fucking fear porn on here, but it's happening in front of our eyes, and we're all just doing it. Because nobody's asking you or me or anybody else to go out and get a digital ID today. Nobody's asking us to do that. They are asking us to get a real ID, whatever that is. You got to take all your, birth documents. And what if you don't have those? What if your child was born in a house, not in a hospital, and they didn't have those? It's just another step along a path to an authoritarian, dystopian hellscape. We're one step closer to 1984 every time somebody agrees to do this. And nobody's asking you to, go create a scene at your local DMV, right? All people are suggesting is, hey, maybe don't do it. It's as simple as that. Like, I think, and this is just a personal opinion, I think a lot of things that are going on, like with all the lockdowns in 2020 and the real ID stuff, honestly, a lot of the stuff that went on with 9/11, a lot of this stuff is a psyop to see if the populace is ready for us to ratchet things up just one step more. Like, have we brainwashed the mass populace enough for us to just crank the ratchet just a little bit more, right? If we threaten people's comfort just a little bit more, are they ready to comply? And I think the sad reality is, in a lot of cases, even for people who are, associated with the truth community, the fact of the matter is, when it comes right down to it, well, it's just going to get a real ID. It's not that big of a deal. Nobody's asking me to take a jab. Nobody's asking me to, send my kid to a brothel. Nobody's asking me to do that today. It's just a real ID. But what does that lead to 10 years from now? What does that lead to 100 years from now? And people in this community, this is not an original thought. People in this community have said this time and time again. These plays people are running, these things people are running span not just decades, but lifetimes. I mean, you got to think, Pelosi's been alive for like 400 years, right? That old bitch has been planning stuff for a long ass time. She's got an agenda, okay? Trump's like fucking 80, allegedly. He's got these people have agendas that don't end 6 months from now. Even if you're just allying yourself with like regular lifespans of regular people, they still have agendas that lead into their child's lifetime, into their grandchild's lifetime. That's mainstream bullshit. Complying with this stuff is just taking another step towards a dystopian nightmare of a future. And so this guy's right. Just don't. It's as simple as not doing it. And right now, we're in a fortunate position where just not doing it really doesn't interfere with your life. In 2020, that was a little bit harder for a lot of people, okay? But at this point in time, like, what are you really giving up? Not dealing with nothing. And so it's a matter of simply saying no. It's like in fucking say no to drugs, people. Say no to drugs. Say no to strangers. It's that simple. Scary, but it's that simple. John, you look like you're just pregnant with a comment.
Yeah, I love what that guy said. You're not going to be a person, you're going to be a QR code.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially when you start thinking of like the Brandon Joe Williams stuff, is like they really have been trying with the way that we interact with the world. They've really just been trying to tear down that idea of you actually being a person.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be, kind of degraded, to your tax ID kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like you have to kind of set up this separate entity for yourself to be able to go and actually engage with other people in like a lot of different ways. Right now, obviously, it's just kind of commercial ways, but they're trying to do that more and more. And digital ID is just the next step of going along the path that we've already gone too far down.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what a lot of people got to realize. It's like we've gone very far down. Is like you got to, if you want to, sell people, fruit from your freaking garden, right? You got to go and, create a taxpayer entity for yourself to
and that's some bullshit.
Interact with the government. Like, we've already gone really far down this path.
Yeah.
So it's like, in terms of, it's just as simple as not engaging with it. Yes, but
that's not that simple.
It's not that simple.
No, I mean, you're right. You're right.
Because it's like you have to.
The concept is that simple.
The concept is that
the
simple,
act isn't that
and
simple.
like even like stripping away all of like having to deal with the government bullshit of it all, and like the people that come in with guns to try and enforce it is like having to deal with what I think is probably the harder thing, and I think 2020 was evident of this, having to deal with the social pressure of it all. That's the biggest thing, is what they're trying to do that. That's the biggest way they enforce it, because if you look in 2020, that's how people that's how people complied with all the nonsense. It was very few places where it's like, you know, men with guns were marching into your Walmart putting a mask on you.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't want to be looked at funny by the guy I'm passing.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
that was so much of it. So much of it.
and
yeah.
so in like you kind of seen, I'm sure you probably really understand this well with the way you were brought up. The people who kind of disengage from the way our structure is and try to get to a more holistic way of life,
you get a lot of funny looks.
You get a lot of funny looks.
You
You get a lot of social pressure, and that it's very, very difficult for people.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's what I like when I kind of talk about this stuff and I kind of look at it. That's what I want to like focus on more. It's like most people, you're not going to be confronted by men with guns when you start disengaging from it all and trying to live with the holistic life. It's going to be your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Right. And they're not going to have guns, but they're going to have a very, very
have a
powerful
frown.
weapon. They're going to have, you know, and like they're going to make it uncomfortable for you.
That's
And that's
absolutely
something
right.
that, like, for me personally, that I'm really trying to battle with how to deal with. You know, because it's very, very difficult. It's not me preaching holier than I'm in that mess right now. You know.
Yeah. I think for that, and Garrison, you make a great point. Like it's a matter of like that little bit of convenience, you know, like it does condition us. You're exactly right. We have to have you on again sometime soon. Text me. I'll text you here in a little bit. But
here in a little bit means 3 weeks.
It means later today, hopefully.
I just you're here in a little bit means I'll text you in 2 months.
But to your point, John, you're right. The biggest weapon they seem to have, it's not guns, it's the uncomfortableness, right? It's the awkwardness, it's the fear. And I think one of the bigger things that we have to struggle with is realizing, because that fear is very real and very present for a lot of us when it comes to not conforming to a lot of these social norms and social conditions that are pressed on us, right? But realizing, especially from a community perspective, because we're so heavily wired to seek out community. Like from a very young age, we're wired to seek out community. And one of the things we saw in 2020, one of the things we're seeing now, is when that community is affected, it's not just comfort, it's the comfort we have from having like a community and the social acceptance that makes us feel like we have. When that's threatened, we're a lot more ready to comply. But the fact is, like, breaking out of that, while it's uncomfortable at first, right? The community's out there. People like you and I are out there searching for, screaming for, begging for community, but you have to be okay looking like a weirdo for a little bit. You have to be okay with some of those weird looks. You have to be okay kind of looking like an asshole sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like being a dick out in public, just like, oh, look at that asshole walking down the, you know, like, you have to make your peace with that. And then I think once you do that, like, that's the struggle that leads to a lot more peace and community on the other side. It's just getting over that fence that is tremendously difficult. I still remember, like, I was in counseling in college, and my therapist at the time, super nice lady, was telling me about this friend she had who, like, some people, I swear, are just born on the other side of that fence. And it was this friend she had who just didn't give a flying fuck from the time she was born and just was herself all the time, no matter what. And there are always going to be people who look at that person and they're like, what a weird son of a bitch. But as long as you have basic social skills and can talk to other people, the right community is going to find you. Like, it's just a matter of being okay with the idea of putting yourself out there and existing in an authentic fashion. And so it's just that, you know? Interesting, Garrison. Interesting. The idea of, like, attracting the eye, living traditionally. I mean, I think it does. And I don't know. I think as far as, like, living authentically, attracting the attention of bad spiritual entities and the fear and frustration that brings, I think that's one of the biggest tools at their disposal to try to discourage you from expressing those things in your personal life. And there's certainly going to be other hurdles past that, right? But I think it's a matter of, this is just coming from a personal perspective as a true retard. So I think it's a matter of like kind of not worrying about tomorrow, right? Not worrying about, oh my gosh, what happens if I do just be, a genuine person today, and B, making your peace with the fact that like you are gonna attract some of that attention, and realizing that the community's out there. You just have to make it over that fence to attract it, to commune with it, right? That's my thought. Again, from a true retard, so don't take that too far to heart.
Yeah, from also hopefully true retard. The people who are trying to do the right thing, live the right way, follow Jesus, spread the gospel. They by nature, in my view, are going to attract the most demons because they're the most dangerous. So the answer to his question is, yeah, that's going to happen.
Right.
Like it's the nature of the world we live in, right? If you try to fight against it, you're going to attract the most attention, because it's like, if you're successful, you're the most dangerous in what to their agenda. And like is, to how you combat it is just like, you just do it. You try to lean on the creator the best you can to carry you through it. That's the only real answer anyone could have to that question. But to your point, is out of focus there, but I will. To your point is the fear of that is one of their biggest tools to like, what if this brings all this shit on me?
Right. It's
In all honesty, it's going to.
Yeah.
That's kind of just the nature of it. We're in a very fucked up place.
That's true, and there's
like,
some of that, but it's just so easy to let that fear get to you, and the what ifs are always worse than reality.
Yeah.
After the fact, and I think they're worth acknowledging. I don't think they're worth addressing past that. Like, acknowledge the possibility of, what if my life falls apart? Okay, acknowledge it. Come up with a game plan. Move the fuck on.
Yeah.
Like you can't let fear kind of stop you in your tracks like that. It's terrible.
Yeah. And do I have the right gauge of what I have to apologize to our audience here. I have never seen or read The Lord of the Rings. I know the Eye of Sauron is from The Lord of the Rings. I'm assuming I have the right gauge of what that is.
Yeah, it's
from
bad.
context.
It's
I'm
bad.
assuming it's bad.
Yeah.
But I've never read or watched those movies. I am outing myself now as
Sauron is
very retarded. But
in Lord of the Rings, Sauron is a giant eye
right
on top of a dick-shaped tower
right
that gives people its attention when they do things it doesn't like.
Yes.
And gives them bad feelings when they
Okay.
do things it doesn't like.
Eventually one day I'll watch those movies and read those books.
And it's never occurred to me how phallic Sauron is. Like, the eye kind of looks like a penis, like the tip of a penis. And then the tower also, that's a bad hand motion to make, also looks kind of phallic. And that's just now occurring to me.
Cut that off.
Do what?
I have it on split screen, and it might have cut it off.
I don't know. But it's never occurred to me how like weirdly obelisk-ish, Osiris-ish Sauron is. I don't know if that's on purpose from Tolkien. But yeah.
Yeah, amen, brother.
So, yeah, that's a good point, though, Garrison. Good point. All right. On to the next. What else we got? Oh, yeah, I have this article from CNN. I just thought this was ironic. Supposedly, caught like the inflation and the economy getting better is going to outstrip how shitty the housing market is, right? And the economy is going to get better. Scroll down for me, John. Keep scrolling, like aggressively scroll down. Oh, shit.
Okay,
you can read it.
I want to say something real quick.
What?
I always get shit on when I aggressively scroll
I know,
down,
that's why I asked you to.
so
Yeah, that's why I asked you to. Because I
wanna
expected
put
you
that
not
out there.
to. Yeah, no. Typically, I don't want you to aggressively scroll down. This time I did. When I looked at this article earlier, I thought it would do the same thing since you're also signed into the same internet account. It told me, hey, you have to sign up and pay us money to be able to access this. And I thought it was just ironic that it says, hey, the economy's going to get better, but hey, we're poor, give us money. But it's not doing that, so that ruined that whole line of talking. This is just more bullshit to try to get you to buy into the system, though. Like, hey, your money's going to be worth more in 2026. Except it's not. It's not. It's just not. It's not going to get better. It's some bullshit to get you to buy into the bullshit system. So that's all I have on that. John, if you have anything about Austrian economics, now's your moment. You get 30 seconds.
No, I'm not gonna. I've come to the conclusion that really paying attention and really getting invested in all of that is retarded.
Yeah.
More so is like this actually kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. So, but if you look at how, especially how Gen Z, and this is kind of son of a bitch.
Demons do love dicks. You're right,
Yeah.
Harrison.
But if you look at kind of how the younger generations are kind of perceiving the world, it's like this ain't working. It's just not working, and I don't really know what to say about it more than this. It's like I'm not really sure who they're running this for, because there's not really anybody out there that's looking. There's not really anybody out there other than you that's fucking reading CNN Business, to start. So it's like this article probably has all of 5 readers, and we're 2 of them.
At least 5.
At
least
so it's
5.
like I don't really know who this is for, because it's like no one's looking at this crap, and the whole idea is just like, I've kind of come to the conclusions like, let me break this down and give a good logical economic reason as to why they're wrong. It's just gay.
Yeah, it is. It is a little gay.
So it's like,
I think you're past your 30 seconds.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't have any energy to give this.
All right. Good. I'm glad. We can move on. So, let's see here. Let's talk about central banks for a minute. So
You're just trying to get me to launch into autistic Austrian economics.
No. This article is not directly related to central banks, but it got me thinking about them. So we have decided we're pissed at Nigeria because ISIS is doing ISIS shit in Nigeria. So in true America fashion, we're like, hey, let's bomb them, because that's our solution for most stuff. If you do something we don't like, if your mom does something we don't like, if your cousin, we're going to bomb you. That's our solution to most disputes, is just let's bomb things. Which conceptually is kind of fun, right? It's easy. It's like if your kid starts misbehaving, instead of having them stick their nose in the corner, you just shot them. That's essentially what we're doing, okay? So that's fun and a great concept, but what it got me thinking was, what countries have we really had problems with over the past, since I've been alive? And what things have we installed there after all of these seeming regime change wars? And so I took a look into the countries that don't have central banks. And I grant you, this article that I took this information from came out in 2018. But John, head back to the Google Doc and pull this. So countries that didn't have central banks in 2018: Russia, North Korea, Iran. It's the next one down, John. Keep this one up because we'll come back to that in a second. But
This one?
Yes. So Russia, North Korea, Iran. Oh, go back up. What are the others? Cuba, and Syria, and I think there's one other. How many of these countries have we fought major wars in that amount of time? Pretty much all of them. Now, some of these countries that don't have central banks use other countries' central banks. Like some of them are heavily involved with the European Union, but in general, we've been doing stuff in Cuba, Iran, Syria, North Korea, the Sudan. All of those places we have bombed, we have fought wars with. We've done stuff to try to fix the fact that they're not controlled by a Rothschild bank. And this other article that I pulled mentions that a little bit as well, and kind of gives a timeline for it. If we scroll back up, I meant to highlight where it discussed it. I forgot. So, yeah. But all of these countries don't have central reserve banks, and it's just odd how we somehow seem to get involved in all of them. And there's all that talk about who was that general, John? You remember his name? Dave Smith talks about him all the time.
Wesley Clark.
Yeah, talking about it like all these countries we're going to go into, and lo and behold, this son of a bitch is right. Like we have bombed, I think, all of those countries, and had regime change wars in almost all of them too. So scroll back up on here, John. I think it discusses the timeline somewhere towards the top. Did you find it?
No. What? No, this is just automatically scrolling. What the hell?
Click the middle wheel.
I'm not doing anything.
Click the middle wheel again to get off of it.
I've
okay.
clicked it
You
multiple
broke it.
times, and it is just doing its there.
You broke the computer.
What the hell?
All right.
Well, I can maybe
So-
try to scroll. This is retarded. I'm
my
glad
God.
I don't have this on screen. The audience is gonna
This is
just
painful.
see how terrible I am at my job. I've clicked this middle wheel 1,000 times, and so I'm gonna close the tab out.
So separate and apart from the technology issues that we're having, one of the things that a lot of people just don't think about on a daily basis because it's not a part of your regular life is the fact that like no citizen has ever asked for a central bank. Nobody's ever voted for a central bank. Nobody's ever said, hey, it'd be a great idea if. And these are like non-governmental entities that exist to, supposedly fund the government. And we're installing them all over the place. And all they're doing is slowly devaluing the currency and the wealth of the middle class over time. And one of the things you'll notice is that countries that don't have them, right, we seem to, just as a matter of course, bomb or go to war with. And I think the only rational explanation must be, at least from my perspective, control of the economy gives you control of the government, the populace. It gives you control of everything in a region. Whoever's running this world, the Rothschilds tend to be associated with all of these central banks, seems to want control of these places. And the fact that they didn't or don't have control of these regions really seems to bother them. So guess what we're doing? We're bombing Iran. We're going to have a regime change war in Syria. We're going to get pissed at Putin. We're going to do all of this stuff. And what that does is it just leads to more and more control of these regions over time.
Yeah.
And it's just, ugh. What happened to the days of not bombing everybody? I missed that. Was that ever a thing? Was that a thing back in like the 50s? No, we were bombing people in the 50s. Was that a thing like in the 20s? No, we were still bombing. No, I don't think it's ever been a thing where we weren't bombing people. We just like to bomb people, and it's one of those odd moments where there are a lot of folks who like to get all up in arms about like American patriot, and there are people out there fighting for your freedom. You have to wonder what all these folks are really fighting for. That's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. What are we out there doing?
Yeah.
What are these, troops that we like to venerate as, dick swinging heroes actually out there working towards? What's the reason behind like the weird, like messianic respect a lot of people want service members to have? It's weird and strange. One of them walks into a room, you're supposed to like stand, salute, and like pucker your butthole. What is with that? It's always seemed a little bit odd to me. Like, okay, you fought in a war. You probably killed and raped a bunch of people. Why am I excited about that? Like all these stories you hear about guys that were in Vietnam and all the shit they did. Why are we supportive of that? It's always seemed a little strange to me. And it's a noble idea. The idea of like going to war for your country and your loved ones is a very noble idea. I'm not trying to disparage that. But what's at the core of what we're allegedly bombing people for?
Yeah, and what I want to say to that, it's how they're capturing like this very noble idea of like sacrificing yourself for your community, for your family. It's like this idea. I mean, greater love has no
Man than this.
to lay
You'll
down
get
his
it out
life for
eventually.
his friends. It's capturing that energy, which is very, very noble, and putting it to work to something that's very, very,
Yeah.
very, very not noble. And so I try not to really, because it's like I do talk about, this shit a lot. I try not to really hark on like individual service members, right? Because it's like they're taking a very noble character trait and it's just unfortunately been misused by very fucked up and evil, sadistic people.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what's happening there. So it's like when people like are honoring service members, it's like it's not necessarily that bad of a thing because you are honoring for most people, a very noble person who has very noble character traits and is doing something that, like, in the right, authentic, real world context is a good thing, right? It's just abused by a very sadistic, messed up group of people.
I don't know. I've never liked the almost spiritual veneration people want you to have for them. That's always made me a little uncomfortable.
Well, the problem is they want it towards it's directed towards the system, right? It's directed towards like, hey, you don't need to like, it's like honor the military as the system, honor the country as the government.
Yeah.
Right. I try not to shit on like individual people who go and contribute to that because it's like I understand like it's coming from a noble kind of character trait that's just misused by really, really fucked up people. And it's like those people, the people who go into that system are victims.
Yeah.
Like they're victims of a very, very, very effed up machine.
Yeah.
Like the people who went to Iraq and then just came back and blew their brains out. Like those people are victims. They're massively victimized by some screwed up people.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an element of that to
like that, and like the people who went into Vietnam and like again just came back and blew their brains out. It's like most of them are victims to a very, 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 very bad thing, right?
Sure.
And it's like
you're making me sound like an asshole. Well, here,
I'm not trying to, but I'm trying to like do a
at what
put
point
a little bit of a
differentiation.
That is the word I'm looking for. Right, because it's like it's kind of screwed up how they do it because it's like they'll take people they'll take the people who do have noble character traits and try to like pull them into a very like noble cause, or they take the desperate. Like they really, really like if you think about how that system's set up is they take the noble and the desperate and then they just fuck them over.
All right,
it's just
yes,
it really, really
there is an element of that to it for sure. And I guess most of the people I've seen like personally go into the military are people with terrible home lives,
right?
Or people who are like, "Hey, I'm gonna go do a good thing and go fight for my country."
Screwed up. It's like it's screwed up how they use that.
Sure. At what point do people have to take personal responsibility for engaging with something bad, though? And I'm not trying to be that asshole who's like, "Fuck you."
That gets back to our earlier conversation. It's like,
does.
hey, at what point, like,
yes,
when you don't notice, it's on you. I get you there.
Yes. And so the thing I guess I don't like about it, to bring us full circle, is the weird, almost messianic veneration of these people and the like social stigma around just questioning, hey, why the fuck did you go do it? You can't. Like, I sound like an asshole right now.
I get what you're saying there.
Even questioning it. And so I think that is problematic. Sure, like it's a very noble character trait to want to go like die for your country. Good for you. Would I do that? Probably not. But good for the people who did. But the fact that you can't draw a big question mark over like why did you want to go engage? Like why did you decide to comply with bombing Iran? Yeah. Why did you decide to comply with whatever had happened? Like why did you decide to be a part of that?
Yeah.
You can't question that without garnering a whole fuckload of public hatred.
Yeah, and you can't question that without getting like really, really like diving into like a much broader like societal conscious,
and it
because
gets wrapped
it's like,
up in politics.
Why were people like clapping at a baseball game when they allegedly killed Osama bin Laden? Right, like that's fucked up. Like it's fucked up. Like hey, it's like we blew down someone's house in the middle of the night and shot him. Like
That's good, John. It's America.
Like,
Fucking
and
fly your
it's
flag.
fucked up to celebrate that injury, and it's fucked up. Like if you're a believer, like is that not a soul lost? Like it is fucked up to celebrate that. And like when you have to like start questioning that, and like
Yes.
you start kind of starting to unravel, I think, a lot of ways people are kind of held, and that starts getting really uncomfortable for people.
Well, yeah, and it's capture of a lot, like you said, a lot of very noble character traits, and capture of the people who are gonna want to give their energy to those noble character traits,
Right.
you know, and perverting them to use them for busting somebody's door down in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and you know, murdering a guy who was probably a CIA operative to begin with, so like no love lost there. Probably fuck him.
If that
but-
story actually happened, he
Right,
was probably
yeah.
dead in the 70s.
So it's just it's a weird, icky place to be, and it's just odd how we seem to always come back to the places with central banks.
yeah.
We always do, and I think it's probably because, again, full retard, we don't have as much control over those places. Whoever's running this shit doesn't have as much control over those places. And so it seems like countries like the U.S. are kind of like the right hand of like the Rothschilds, the Carnegies, the people who really seem to run the world. Like we're essentially operating as the strong right arm of these like evil families, and we're going into these places and doing their dirty work for them as an entity. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how gross and fucked up is that? It's pretty bad.
Yeah. It makes you kind of wonder. I've always thought, like, what are those places actually like?
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, obviously they talk about North Korea. You see all the documentaries. It's,
Right.
you know, talked about as this hellhole. And it's like, I would love to actually be able to visit, not on like the guided
Right.
tour, just like going, what's actually going on there? It's
Yeah.
like, I have no clue, and I'm just talking out of my asshole, but it's an interesting kind of thought experiment. It's like, yo, what the hell is going on in all of these places that they kind of say are, you know, Messiahly, just a place of scum and villainy, you know?
Yeah, and to your point, they say like, well, those places are just propagandized all the time. Those people are just. But what if you're doing that to me? You know, it's like weird propaganda inception, and it's you don't know what to believe after a certain point. Yeah, it's just weird, and I'm done sounding like an asshole for today. I really picked a bad time for some of these discussions.
Well,
I'll be more conscious.
yeah, I wasn't sure. I was trying to make a very clear distinction on like what this actually is, because it's a very sickened version of like what we think of as authentic, like noble, like masculinity, noble community, and like how people are supposed to interact with each other. And on the surface, that's what it's given to us as. But if you just peel one layer back, it's not that. And like I was trying to really, really establish that and make that clear distinction, because it's like it looks really, really good on the surface, but it's real ugly and real shitty, you know?
Okay.
So
Okay.
I hope people got that point.
I hope they did too.
It fucks with my brain. It really makes me angry.
I mean, like, yeah, just as fucked up as everything else out there. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Yeah.
It bothers me simply because it's addressed differently as other stuff. You know, I can go rant and rave about the government all day long, but if I start ranting and raving about the military, people are going to be like, "Well, Carson, don't you care about?" Sure, I do. I care about all the dead people, but still fucked.
Yeah, dude, and that's part of the
Still
freaking. It's
fucked.
part of like the operation of it.
Yeah.
Right, because it's like it's kind of what I was saying is like if you do that and it's like real, like you are a fucked up person. If,
Sure.
Like, and like they're just emulating that. It's so messed up.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So,
Do we have one more?
moving on. I believe so. Yeah. So we'll end with this. Trump's having a Christmas party at Mar-a-Lago, a post-Christmas party. It's not actually that, folks, but he's inviting his best buds Zelensky and Netanyahu over to have a little tete-a-tete about peace deals. What the fuck? All right. I thought, are we still on Russia, Ukraine? I thought, aren't the liberals done with that? Aren't we done giving that attention? But apparently Zelensky's coming to have a discussion with Trump over peace deals, and I think he said something like we're close to like 90%. It's a 20. He said the 20-point peace plan is 90% ready. I feel like that is saying something close to absolutely nothing. That's like saying, I don't know, like the work to get the work done on your car is almost 90% ready. You know, if you called the shop and they're like, yeah, the thinking about fixing your car is almost 90% ready. It's just dumb bullshit to put out there.
They have 18 points done.
Right. Like this is absolutely pointless to put out there. But Zelensky is very proud of the fact that his 20-point peace plan is 90% ready. And he's going to meet with Trump here soon at Mar-a-Lago, the new White House, I guess. And then we're going to have the real president of the United States, Benjamin Netanyahu, come and meet with our beloved D. Trump here shortly. Why in the world are we meeting with these heads of state so damn often? If that doesn't make you wonder what the hell's going on, what does?
Also, it's like if this was still going on, like what this has been.
It's been like 100 years
yeah,
since this
so
Russia-Ukraine
we're getting
stuff started.
close to 6. It was in 2020, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Or maybe 2021. We're getting close to like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they have all killed each other by this point? If it's been like the same like activity level as it's been for the past, however many years.
Right.
It's like they keep saying that like, oh, hundreds of thousands of people have died. It's so bloody. Like, how is there anyone left? And I know like people will say it's like, well, they're most like they're starting to draft like middle-aged Ukrainian men, but it's just like
I'm calling bullshit on
that. Who the hell knows what what actually is going on over there is. Like, I know there are people filming GoPro YouTube videos where they're like just shooting at empty space. Yes. I don't know if you've seen those. It's like you can never see what they're shooting at.
Do you want to see what they're shooting at, John? If they are actually shooting at something real?
No, I mean that's part of it's a good point. You get into that shit where they're just trying to, inflict trauma, like mass trauma on people.
Yeah.
But like how do people believe this is anything real?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's very, very strange to me.
And they come out with announcements like this every so often. They're like, Trump is going to meet with Margaret Thatcher. She's dead, but it's
he might be just
maybe they're meeting
with the witch to go and summon her spirit or something.
A seance of Margaret Thatcher.
They probably do that shit.
That's that could be fun.
Yeah, maybe this is just a Saturnalia celebration.
I think it is.
I
think it's
getting all the people together and just
a fun satanic Christmas party at Mar-a-Lago. They'll have some McDonald's. They'll talk about a deal with the devil. They'll, put on yarmulkes and they'll put on leather pants and have a great time because that seems to be what Zelensky and Netanyahu do. It's hilarious that this stuff is still in the news. It's hilarious that this stuff is still in the public mind. I just can't believe are there still people flying Ukraine flags? Like badges of honor? Because I remember that was a big thing. And that was a big thing in 2021. Like, if you wanted to be a good person, you got your blue, you got your yellow, you stuck it out on your front door. You said, I love America, and because I love America, I love the Ukraine. Because that's how this country works now. Or if you were a liberal, you said, I hate American because I hate America, I love Ukraine, or something like that. Or because I love the gays, I love Ukraine. I'm really not sure how they function, but I think that's how that works. But if you wanted to be a good person, you put a Ukraine flag out. That's what you did. And I think we're done with that. Are we done with that, John? Are people still doing that?
I think so.
Do you have a Ukraine flag out in front of your house? Are you a good person?
No, I'm not.
You're a bad person.
Yeah, I'm a piece of shit.
But, we can all rest easy because Trump and Zelensky and Netanyahu will all be there here shortly. So, we're excited to see what comes of that.
Yeah, there was a time in my life when I would have really gotten into like this whole story, and it's just like, it's just exhausting. Like, it's just like, I never understand. Like, I like Dave Smith. I like people like Clint Russell and Scott Horton. I never understand how they can spend so much time in on this shit. because it's like at some point you've got to like recognize the pattern and just realize that it just goes on forever, you know? And like I don't understand like how you can go into such a deep dive and break all this down when it's just clear it's just two-sided actors, you know?
That's a good point.
And
I don't know if you noticed this, but Sky 501 Virgin Freeview 233 and YouTube. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right about the fact that if you follow it long enough, you just see a bunch of patterns that repeat over and over again.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who cover this stuff in depth are, I don't know if they're looking into a lot more of the stuff you and I tend to be more interested in on their own time and just covering the surface level shit, you know, on their shows, or if they're just interested in the mechanics of it all, you know, interested in the inner world. It's for the same reason, like there are engineers out there who just work on cars, you know, and there are physicists who are interested in the deep underlying nature of reality, you know, different strokes for different folks type of shit. You know, I wouldn't say it's the worst thing in the world. So yeah, but it's going to be a fun Christmas party. I didn't get an invite, unfortunately. I was hoping I would, hoping to go drink some blood with these motherfuckers on, you know, the day after Christmas, but we can't all be at Mar-a-Lago.
Why didn't they call it a Boxing Day party?
I don't think it's actually the day after
celebrate?
Christmas. I think it's like tomorrow or something. But yeah, he's having both of them to the yeah. It's a great time. So, folks, thanks for watching. Our Boxing Day. You're welcome, John. Our Boxing Day.
Thank you.
Boxing Day. Our Boxing Day live stream. We appreciate your support. And if you enjoy the show, please give it a like and a follow. We desperately need those. If you want to support the show, please go check out our Patreon. We are working on stuff to put there. Don't worry, it's coming. Also, give us a follow on Twitter. We lost a bunch of followers on there when our old account got nuked. Other stuff that's coming, we will likely be doing a show with the Biblical Hitman sometime in January. We haven't finished scheduling that yet, but we are working on it. Where are my notes here? New app, most likely we'll be doing a live stream this coming Monday around 7 p.m. Stay tuned for that. All of our links should be somewhere in the bio if you want to check us out on all the socials.
It's all rolling across the bottom of the screen as well.
Also that. And check out our... Nope, said that. Check out the Patreon. And if you notice anything you want us to talk about, if you know of any guests you want us to try and have on, DM us at the Veritas Road on Instagram and the Facebook, or at the Veritas Road Pod on Twitter, or shoot us an email at theveritasroad@gmail.com. And we would thank you again to Nephilim Hunter.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're going to see this.
We used a couple of those, and they were
We did. They were good.
very, very fascinating.
And there are more of his to come. We just didn't have time for all of them this week. But thank you for sending us all those. We appreciate it. If anybody else wants to send us stuff, feel free. We covet all the stuff you want to send to us.
It's a good word.
It is a good word. Thank you,
Sounds a good
John.
word.
So yeah, folks, thanks for listening. Merry Boxing Day, or whatever the hell people say today. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.